I'm coming at you live on tape from Sydney, Ohio. And today we're doing Hatchet 2 in memory of Tony Todd. Now you may wonder why we're not doing Hatchet 1 or Candyman or some other movie. Here's why. I went and looked what movies I could do that were available that I didn't have to pay for. And the choices were the remake of Candyman, which he's in for a whole minute, so that was out. Candyman Farewell to Flesh, which was on Max. The 1990 Night of the Living Dead, which was on Fossum, which I didn't want to watch all of Fossum's commercials because there's too many commercials on Fossum, so that was out. Or one of the Hatchet movies. Now, Hatchet 1, he's in for a whole 5 minutes. So I felt that didn't feature Tony Todd enough. But Hatchet 2, he's in a lot of. He's in the entire movie of. So it came down to Hatchet 2 or Candyman Farewell to Flesh, where he's playing the Candyman. And so I asked my buddy, which one do you think would be better? And he said Hatchet 2, and I agreed with him because probably one somebody else is not going to do. Now, another thing with Hatchet 2, in the original Hatchet, Mary Beth was played by somebody else. I don't remember her name because I didn't look it up because I've been in extreme pain this week. I hurt my back. But in Hatchet 2, she's played by Danielle Harris, who plays her throughout the rest of the Hatchet movies. Another thing about the Hatchet movies is they're made by Adam Green, and they're kind of a throwback to 80s horror. And the thing is, they've got a lot of 80s and horror royalty stars in them. The first one had Robert Englund in it. And of course, they've got Tony Todd in them. And Kane Hodder, who's famous for playing Jason, plays Hatchet, and he plays Thomas Crowley, Hatchet's father, in Hatchet 2. So it's a big horror franchise that is made. It's low budget, but it's a very good horror franchise consisting of Hatchet 1 through 3, and then Victor Crowley is the fourth one, but Victor Crowley really isn't that good. So we're going to jump here into Hatchet 2, which starts where Hatchet 1 left off, with Hatchet getting ready to kill Mary Beth in the swamp, in the water. Mary Beth then escapes by poking Hatchet in the eye. Well, his name's not Hatchet, his name's Victor Crowley. By poking Victor Crowley in the eye, and then a man drags her out of the water and tells her she's lucky to be alive until she reveals that she is Mary Beth Dunstan, at which point he raises a shotgun to her and throws her out of his house and tells her to make her way back to town and talk to Reverend Zombie, who was played by Tony Todd, if he wants to know why he's throwing her out of his house. The guy then proceeds to go through what his loot he found from the dead people from Hatchet 1 and looks through a video camera from the people in Hatchet 1 who was making kind of a Girls Gone Wild tape of lots of boobies, and apparently they were trying to get a 14-year-old to show boobies, which is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, because it is hilarious. And then Victor Crowley comes and chokes the guy with his own intestines till his head pops off, which is a great kill. Mary Beth then makes her way to Reverend Zombie, played by Tony Todd, and gets the explanation of Hatchet's birth. Well, not why do I keep calling him Hatchet? His name's Victor Crowley. Of Victor Crowley's birth, and how he came to be Victor Crowley, and how her father, Samson Dunstan, was one of the kids who led to Victor Crowley's death, but was never punished for it. And Reverend Zombie says he'll help Mary Beth go back in the swamp that night to get revenge and to get Samson Dunstan, her father, and her brother's bodies out of the swamp. but she should bring her uncle. To which point she goes back home and talks to her uncle, who wants her to just go to the police. But Reverend Zombie has amassed an army of hunters and fishermen to go back into the swamp, offering them $500 each to go into Victor Crowley's swamp for the night, at which point a lot of people walk out. But I talks to one guy who he was very careful to get invited into going in the swamp for $1,000, and then offers them $5,000 for the head of Victor Crowley. And then Uncle Bob, Mary Beth's uncle, comes in and agrees to go in the swamp. And then we get them in the boat going to the swamp, which is really not that important a moment, except for the one black guy is really annoying, and we all hope he dies. Why can't more black people in movies be like Tony Todd and just be like, I'm going to murder you, I'm not going to be annoying? So then they're making their way into the swamp, and they decide to split up to cover more ground. I think this is really because Reverend Zombie wants them to split up so he doesn't have to pay the people. And slowly but surely, they get killed off by Victor Crowley. While Reverend Zombie and Mary Beth and her uncle and the guy Reverend Zombie especially invited Trent, along with the Asian guy who's in every Victor Crowley movie, but plays a different part in each one, is with Reverend Zombie and looking for his brother in this one, which is a part he played in the first one, are looking for Victor Crowley's shed and house. We also see a sex scene with Adam Green and a hot blonde chick, which I think he wrote that part himself just so he had a reason to have sex in a movie. But don't worry, he gets his head cut off mid-sex. And she says, did you fall asleep again? Indicating that he fell asleep at one point before while having sex with her. Don't worry, baby, I never fall asleep having sex with you. So then they find Victor Crowley's house, and they go inside, and Victor Crowley starts murdering them again, leading to Trent and Victor Crowley having a face-off, and Trent, of course, dying, and the Asian guy, of course, dying, and Tony Todd taking Mary Beth out of the house and locking Uncle Bob in the house, and revealing that his plan was to get Uncle Bob and Trent killed, so all the people that killed Victor Crowley can murder, at which point Mary Beth reveals that Uncle Bob is not her real uncle, but instead was her father's best friend, and that her real uncle died of leukemia at age 12, at which point Victor Crowley is still pissed off, because they made him kill a best friend and not uncle, because Victor Crowley had a best friend when he was a kid, and it was a squirrel named Peanut who New York took away and killed. So then Victor Crowley and the Candyman go at it, and Victor Crowley cuts him in half, and then rips his body out of Candyman's body out of his skin, and throws him in a bush. And then Mary Beth hatchets Victor Crowley's face in, well, pretty much hatchets his face until it caves in, and then shoots him in the face, and Victor Crowley is supposedly dead, but we all know he's not, because there's a Hatchet 3. And that is pretty much Hatchet 2. There's a lot of cool deaths, which I didn't go over. There's a lot of nudity, which I didn't go over. I recommend watching this movie on Tubi, because it's probably the closest you get to the unrated version, which is the true version of the movie. Or you could just rent the unrated version on Amazon. And Tony Todd is so damn good in it. He might be better in this than he was in Candyman. Then again, I recommend all the Hatchet movies. All of them are good. So now for the Tony Todd tribute song. Sorry if this is going quick. As I said, I'm in a lot of pain right now. They didn't give me anything for pain with my back. They're just like, take ibuprofen and Tylenol. Yeah, ibuprofen and Tylenol don't do shit. They gave me muscle relaxers. I took one of those. I could take another one of those here in about half an hour. I don't know if you're supposed to take muscle relaxers with alcohol to make them work better, or weed to make them work better. But you guys can leave that in the comments if I'm supposed to. You dreamed of being an actor, and you made that dream come true. Well, you weren't always the leading man. You played a villain or two, and your voice would make women swoon. Even though you were the bad guy, they would throw themselves at you. You were Tony Todd, an icon of horror, and we all nod as we raise our glasses one last time, knowing it's over. But your legend will live on, because the Candyman never dies. He's just reborn. You killed and slashed your way into our hearts and souls, and then it took a dash of our mind that won't let go. And we won't forget the icon on the screen, the man who embodied the American dream. You were Tony Todd, an icon of horror. We all nod as we raise our glasses one last time, knowing it's over. But your legend will live on, because the Candyman never dies. He's just reborn. When you got sick, we feared the worst. Was it some terrible curse that may bring our Candyman down? But it was worse as you lay your hat down, and we were forced to say goodbye. You were Tony Todd, an icon of horror, and we all nod and raise our glasses now, knowing this time it's over. But your legend will live on, because the Candyman never dies. He's just reborn. So that's the song, that's the video. I have no idea what I'm doing next week. I know in December we're doing Christmas movies again. Probably Christmas horror. I saw Santa Stein on Tubi. We're definitely doing that in December. And on Thanksgiving, I'm planning on doing a Thanksgiving movie, but next week I have no idea. So see you next week.